So here I am playing a tank you haven't seen me play before, although some of you will get upset over the fact I'm calling it a tank, and it's arty. But I finished the T-55A missions, got my T-55A, and started up the personal missions again, and I wasn't grinding or playing any arty, so I decided I was going to give this one a go. And if I'm perfectly honest, I'm not particularly enjoying it very much. I've had some good games in it, but for some reason I can't seem to do any better than a second class. But I am grinding it, and I am trying to ace it, and we found ourselves here on Malinovka, and yeah, okay, so there are a lot of good tanks on the enemy team, but one of the tanks I noticed was a T-54 lightweight. So one of the scouts, the AMX 1375, has been spotted, but the T-54 lightweight is not spotted. Now, that guy could be spotting the tanks trying to leave spawn. Of course, I fire after he dies, but that guy could be spotting the tanks leaving spawn, or tanks leaving spawn or taking hits, but you know, there's a very, very obvious camping spot on this map, and we'll speed it up, and it's right there. So, you know, I'm going to maybe aim at this bush, wait for the reload, and I'm wondering if the T-54 lightweight is there. He's the top tier light tank on the enemy team. And, well, we've just hit someone. Okay, so I'm going to speed it up. So, hit a blind tank. And almost reloaded. And we're going to fire again. Oh, okay, so, yep, okay, there was someone there, but they've moved. Alright, so, alright, they've moved, so switch my targets, try and hit someone else. Support the hill, maybe. Okay, so a couple more shots in, and yeah, as I say, I'm not enjoying the Crusader very much. I think it's an interesting little arty. You know, faster in reverse than it is when you're going forward, but you know, the problem I'm having with it is the splash radius, the penetration, the it's very hard to counter enemy arty. But anyway, you could see that after firing a couple of shots, I switched back. What speed? We're at half speed, now we're at regular speed. So switch back, and I wonder, is he back in the bush? Is he back in the bush? Yeah, he's back in the bush. So after getting blind shot, I hit him, and he decided to leave the bush, and then he decided to drive back. So, and as I say, I don't know what tank this is, but it has to be the T-54 lightweight. He hasn't been spotted yet, so, you know, fast forwarding, almost reloaded, still aimed at the bush. Is he still in the bush? Yes, he is. He's still in the flaming bush. Now, he's top tier light tank. Come on, dude. You know, I know you haven't been spotted and your sixth sense hasn't gone off, and you've probably put in a cheating report against me for wargaming, but, you know, you're top tier. You gotta take a little bit more responsibility. Nope, he's still there. He is still in the flaming bush, so that's another blind shot there, and I'm wondering, is this guy gonna let me kill him? Is this guy actually going to let me kill him? Completely blind. Is he still in the bush? And there we go. That's 100% damage on a top tier 9 light tank in a tier 9 game who just refused to leave his prime spotting position even after there were very, very few tanks left to spot. But yeah, there's a time when a position in World of Tanks, it may be OP, it may be a good position, but you've got to realize when that position is no longer viable. You've got to realize that you can't just sit there. You've got to go and do something. Hi folks, and welcome to the Ace Tanker for the IKV-90B, the Tier 7 Swedish tank destroyer in-game. This is a design concept developed by Bofors in the mid-1960s that never made it to prototype. It was simply a design. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because it's exactly the same story with the Tier 6 that this leads on from. The IKV-65 Alt-2 is the Tier 6, and once you get through that tank, it leads on to this one, but the IKV-65 Alt-2 was a tank developed by Landsverk during the 1960s, and I sold that tank, so I'm just going to show you a picture just to remind you. There we go, this one. This was another design concept, except it was one of 5 design concepts by Landsverk during the 1960s, and I went through all of this history during the IKV-65 Alt-2. II ace tanker. Now, to cut a long story short, in the 1960s, the Swedish Army put out a tender for a new light tank, and they approached three companies. They approached Landsverk, they approached Haglund, and they approached Bofors, and they asked for a new light tank. Now, Landsverk were in financial difficulties, and in order to win the contract, they developed 5 different variations of this tank. Now, the 5 different variations, this is the Alt 2, none of them made it to prototype. Even though the Swedish Army liked Landsverk's prototypes, they actually preferred this one. This is the one they liked the most, and this is the one they wanted, but Landsverk ended up not getting the contract, regardless of whether or not the Swedish Army liked their design, because the contract went to a second company, Haglund. Now, Haglund was a company that had just basically built a pile of armoured personnel carriers for the Swedish Army, and they designed a tank, or their design was based on the armoured personnel carriers, which meant that parts could be interchangeable between the tank they designed, which they call the IKV-91, and the APC that the Swedish Army were currently using, and that's basically what won them the contract. So this is the IKV-91, and it's not a tank we have in game. It's a very good looking tank, but we don't have it in game for some reason, even though it existed. This tank also, there was a variation of this tank called the IKV-105, so this is a 90mm gun. There was a variation of this that came with a 105mm gun, so technically I suppose these are 2 Swedish tanks we could have in game, but don't. The IKV-90 and the R91 and the IKV-105, but it took Haglund until the 1970s to actually build this tank, but regardless, there was a third company that was approached to build a light tank during the 1960s. So at the time, Landsverk were building their IKV Alt 65s and the 5 variations, and Haglund were working on the IKV-91. This one, there was a third company, and that third company happened to be Bofors. About the only interesting thing I could find out about the design for this tank was that it was designed to come with a 330 horsepower engine, but in-game it only has a 310 horsepower engine, so this is a tank that should have a lot more mobility and should accelerate a lot better if it had the historically accurate engine it was designed to have, but it doesn't have it in game. But long story short, as I say, Haglund ended up winning the contract to design the new light tank for the Swedish Army, and therefore Landsverk ended up having to shut down their military division, even though their tank was the one the Swedish military wanted. So that was the end of Landsverk, and Borsig never ended up building a prototype, so this just remained as a concept tank or a design tank, and Borsig went back to designing the S-tank that we now have in game. So that's pretty much it for the history. Now in game, I didn't like the AKV-90B very much. I mean, I ground through the tank without acing it, so I've actually finished the grind. I aced it playing its daily double every day to try and get the ace after I'd finished the grind, but it does have some good points. The gun arc on this tank is quite good. You get 20 degrees to either side, so the gun arc is very, very good. It's not a fixed turreted TD, as in the gun has a lot of movement. Also, the gun depression is very, very good at 10 degrees, so another big positive for the tank. It can use its gun depression. It's fast, it's mobile, it's quite small, so it's got a decent camo rating. The penetration is absolutely amazing for a tier 7. So you've got 210 millimeters of penetration. I think a lot of people overlook that when they play this tank, but 210 millimeters of penetration could pretty much deal with any tank this tank faces. And then the premium ammunition is very, very good as well, at 250 millimeters of penetration with its heat. So this thing has amazing penetration, and the shell velocity is also very, very good. So it can be quite easy to hit moving targets or targets at distance. So the shell gets to the target very, very quickly. So some good things, but and you know, those things, fast shell velocity and high penetration, make it a pretty good sniper. But as I say, there's a big but. It has problems, and these are the reasons I really didn't like playing the tank. It's got absolutely no armor. It's only got 15 millimeters of armor on front, so not only is this strip of flat armor up here a huge weak spot, the whole tank is a weak spot. Forget about tanks aiming here. The entire front of this tank is only 15 millimeters of armor. The side and rear is only 12 millimeters of armor. So the armor is absolutely rubbish. It means that anything that shoots you and hits you is going to pen you. You're very, very rarely going to actually bounce or have your tracks absorb a shot because it's overmatched. The HE will one-hit kill you. A lot of the tanks firing derp guns at tier 7, tier 8, even tier 6s can potentially kill you. You know, RT will one-hit kill you easily. So that's another big issue for the tank. It weighs almost nothing. This tank weighs only about 13 tons fully loaded. So you can do a lot of ram damage to yourself if from friendlies who are, you know, being careless, or from enemy tanks who are deliberately trying to ram you. The traverse speed isn't great, even though the acceleration and top speed are very, very good. Top speed, I forgot to mention, is 65 kilometers an hour. So top speed is quite good, and it can reach that top speed occasionally, but the traverse speed isn't great. So when you're trying to turn this tank at speed, unfortunately, you've got an incredibly wide turning circle. It's also only got about 800, I just noticed here, 800 health, which is quite low for a tier 8 or tier 7, quite low for a TD at tier 7. So yeah, not only is the armor garbage, HE will one-hit kill you, but you've got low hit points as well. But the main reason, probably the main reason I disliked this tank is the gun handling, which I just don't understand why the gun handling is so bad, but it just feels really, really bad on this tank, even though technically it's quite good. So on paper, as I say, the pen on the gun is very, very good. The velocity is very, very good. And the aim time on paper looks quite good at 1.9, but it's just not. I don't know what it is about the aim time on this gun, but it just doesn't seem to match the rate of fire very well. And on top of that, the soft gun stats when shooting, even though the aim time is okay at 1.9, if you fire any shot without being fully aimed, the shot will go everywhere but at the target. It's just, if you try and fire this gun before being fully aimed, I don't know, just the accuracy is incredibly poor. And on paper, the accuracy isn't terrible either at 0.36. But as I say, it just seems, this tank seems to love missing even fully aimed shots. If you're going to fire this gun before being fully aimed, you're going to miss the target. Fire it even fully aimed. For some reason, this tank just loves missing its shots. I don't understand why. So even though on paper the accuracy and aim time are quite good, I just found it very, very annoying. And also, the other thing I found quite annoying about this TD is the alpha damage. So once again, a bit like the Krupp Waffentrager I mentioned recently, or I covered on the channel recently, you've got 240 damage, so, you know, you've got pretty poor damage for a tier 7 TD. It feels as if you're driving a medium tank. So, you know, it's basically a medium tank. You've got medium tank mobility, but you don't have armor, and you basically have crap gun handling, and you're doing medium tank alpha damage. So, yeah, I just didn't enjoy it very much. And another reason, probably now that I've mentioned the Krupp Waffentrager, is the engine. Just like that tank is on front. So everything that hits you pens you, and everything that hits you seems to damage your engine, so you're constantly getting your engine knocked out when you take fire in this tank. So you know, I mean, this is a TD once again that's a one-trick pony. It is a decent long-range sniper as long as you let the gun aim in fully, but it has absolutely no survivability. It doesn't forgive mistakes, and that means it can be quite hard to play aggressively. And because I like playing TDs aggressively, I just found this one not to my liking. As I say, I ground through it and managed not to ace it, but I did pick it up on times 2. So yeah, we are here on Runeberg in an all, or Winterberg, or Runeberg in an all tier 7 game. So the entire enemy team, our team, all tier 7. So decent matchup for this tank, I suppose. But the penetration on the gun, it means you can deal with higher tier tanks just as long as you hit them long enough because of the low alpha damage. But we're heading up to Crossroads, and I'm going to play a little bit more aggressively because that's how I play TDs. And this one doesn't like being played aggressively because it forgives absolutely no mistakes. But you can see the nice gun arc here. It means that sometimes you can use corners, use angles, poke around, get your gun around a corner, shoot a tank while you're angled. But your angling really doesn't matter because, as I say, the armor is absolutely garbage. But just go for a blind shot there. It's been a while since I watched this replay. In fact, this is the first time I'm watching it since actually playing the game. So if I make a couple of mistakes along the way, forgive me. But okay, we've got a KB3 up in the Crossroads for some reason. I don't know why he didn't go into town, but you know, that would have been clever, but I am actually glad he did come up here because we've only got 3 tanks up here. Most of our mediums, who you would expect to be up in Crossroads, are in town, and we've got heavy tanks like the Tiger P and the KB3 up in the Crossroads, so I don't know. If you're in a medium tank and you go into town on this map, I think you're playing wrong, but anyway, we're advancing. Someone's just taken a couple of shots. I got spotted. KB3 moves up and spots the T-25AT with its terrible view range. And you can see the penetration, no problem going through the T-25AT. And the rate of fire, not terrible, but it's okay. So there's our first kill. We managed to take out the T-25AT for the KB3. Oh, RT in the distance, and you don't even have enough alpha to one-hit kill RT, so even RT's going to be 2-shot kills in this. And as I say, the problem is, if you're trying to play aggressively, you've got to sit there, you've got to aim to make sure you don't miss, and when you've got no armor and no hit points, it can be incredibly painful just to have to sit and aim. But our KB3 is advancing, we're on 2 kills, the enemy team are capping, so I'm hoping our tanks in town can basically stop the cap, and we're just going to try and flank. Going to try and get down around and maybe get some rear shots. So was going to go flank, but in the meantime RT's been spotted. Just using my 10 degrees of gun depression to get my gun on target. Aim. Fire before being fully aimed, but thankfully that shot went in, and I don't know how many games I've played in this tank where it didn't. But we managed to pick up the M12 for kill number 3. And once again, our team need to stop this cap, but we're going downhill, and you can see we're getting up to about 55 kilometers an hour. And as I say, occasionally if you're allowed to accelerate long enough, you can get up to 65, but it would have been far nicer had this a historically accurate engine. But anyway, we've flanked, we're moving up, and we're just looking for shots here. We've got the T-29, and there we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's, you know, a shot fully aimed, and, well, not fully aimed, but before being fully aimed, and the shot goes everywhere. So we fully aimed that time, we managed to get a shot in, we're aiming, and the penetration, shell velocity is nice, set him on fire and someone else nicks the kill, so it's a little bit unfortunate. So we're up to 3 kills, and once again we're advancing, going to move forward, let my binocs kick in, and not spotting anything with the binocs. Okay, so time to advance. So binocs not spotting anything. KB3 is advancing, and he's not spotting anything, so I figure most of the enemy team must be up around this corner. So it's just a matter of advancing and trying to do damage. So we've flanked, haven't run into very much. We're up to 1700 damage. Oh, Tiger 1, look at the aim time, look at the size of the reticule. We fired before being fully aimed because I didn't want him to get back into cover. But once again, the shot didn't actually go where we were aiming, but yeah, I don't know how many games I've played where shots like that would have hit the ground or would have gone over the Tiger 1, missed the Tiger 1 completely. But in the meantime, we've advanced, we've gotten to the flank of enemy tanks. We're going to focus on the Tiger 1 because he's got lots of hit points. Okay, got the rear of the T-29. We can get a kill here. I just got shot by the Stör. Okay, got to swing around. So we're up to kill number 4. And watch this. No. Even that shot didn't go where I aimed. Alright, KB3 got taken out, enemy team are turning around, and now all of a sudden we've got 549 hit points, E25, Sterwaffentrager have got me in a bit of a sandwich, so we're just going to swing around. I'm not quite sure where the E25 is going. Looks like he's undecided as well. Oh, he's turning around, so we can move forward, take him out for kill number 5. So T-34-1, and okay, Panther goes down. Can we get the T-34-1? He's got 284 health, and of course we get a high roll, but it's not going to be high enough, and I lose out in the kill there. So just 1 tank left on the enemy team, the Stör. I can take a hit, so there he is. Look at this shot before being fully aimed, and this time it goes in. And this, it's just so inconsistent, but he puts another shot in. Okay, we'll aim, and someone else takes him out. So just the 5 kills. Didn't get my top gun, but there we go. So it's done, it's dusted, and it's sold. And I've just noticed we actually picked up our 2nd mark of excellence for this tank. And I don't play it very often, it just gets its daily double. Because as I say, I ground through it without actually acing it. But we managed it, we got the ace, we picked up a Pascucci's medal, high caliber, and sniper. And it's a good sniper, but it's just annoying. As I say, I don't like the gun handling. So we finished up top on damage with 3,299 damage done. Just the 5 kills, a little bit annoyed I couldn't have sneaked another one in for a top gun. Finished on 1185 was enough to pick up the ace. So yeah, I'm happy. It's done, it's dusted, and I'm happy to have sold it. So 17 shots fired, we managed to hit 15 and pen 15 because the penetration is very, very good. But you have those games where even though I seem to be hitting most of what I was shooting, yeah, you just have those games where the gun can't hit the side of a barn door if you're firing before being fully aimed. Most of our damage was actually done at close range, not from a distance of more than 300 meters. We damaged 10, destroyed 5, did 70 assistance damage, 5 base defense points, and finished up with 35,000 credits because we didn't have to fire any premium rounds. And I just got sick of it. As you say, I got its daily double. I actually must have sat in this tank for a couple of games on that particular day. One was this. It was the second, or no, it was the 10th. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, I must have sat in it because I was sick of looking at it in my garage. I probably had a game before this one that was quite close to an ace, and I decided to give it another go. But wasn't my first game of the day, even though I was only playing it for its daily doubles. So thankfully, I took it out for another run. I reckon what must have happened was the game before this one was quite close to an ace, and I figured I'd give it another go. But anyway, there we go. It's done. It's dusted. It was a design tank. It never existed. But I suppose, in a way, this design led on to the S-Tank because Bofors were working on it at the same time. So I think maybe we can see some, maybe see something of the S-Tank in this tank regarding its shape and the sloping. But anyhow, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.